issues in the old code. And I guess I would just like to make sure that all the information's been being provided.
Is there any particular issue?
You know, I
that you're-
can't think of anything right off.
I mean, I know, HVAC, we have Freons. I mean, I'll have 25-pound jugs of 410A, which is, you know, I have the licensing to carry a 25-pound jug. I mean, R22 is not gonna be released. I mean, I'm not releasing Freons into the air. That's more federal than it is local city.
So I don't think there's any issue with your business, but I think there's certain things that we have to have in writing that kind of help us make sure that this is what is being done. And I just want to make sure that before I vote to approve this, that we have those things that we require in our old code available.
Okay.
So that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
coming
I guess would it, come down to, the state. I mean, I have to have the S350, which is a state regulation of DOPA. DOPA won't issue a license unless I have workman's comp and I have liability. Once I fulfill those requirements, they issue the license.
Yeah, you see, so again, I have no problem, I don't think, with what you're doing, but
Okay.
in our application, we might say, the applicant needs to explain the business.
Draw a site plan.
Draw a site plan, what it's something, and I don't see that here. And I guess I'd like to know exactly what is, if there's anything we're missing that needs to be here.
Because eventually we might need to redo that form on here.
Oh, I think we
We
will.
absolutely will.
Definitely need to
Is
redo
there,
it. So if
is
you
there a
miss
way to
something,
issue it conditional that when the new stuff goes in, then it's re-evaluated at that time?
What we've discussed doing is for any application of business that's been currently either renewing it or currently before this gets adopted, we were going to send out the new version so everyone's aware of the new version.
Okay.
And I think that's what we had discussed, at least one of our ways of communicating with the folks. So,
it's always harder to get things changed after it's been approved.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And then when it comes up again.
Again, it's like-
In front of planning
Yeah.
commission,
Yeah.
and then, right.
Adam does plumbing,
Right.
and I don't know, I guess that, site plan, there's really not any manufacturing that's going on in my house. When I get in my van and I drive to point B, all the product goes in.
And so I think the business is fine, but I just want to make sure that, I would want to make sure that we have the documentation that we say we need to do that. And I don't know that we do. But I think it could be a really quick fix, and maybe we could make and maybe it's already good enough, I don't know. I'd just like to verify that.
one thought, go ahead, Jeff.
So procedurally, what's happened in the past for current code?
And that's what I was just gonna comment to. I think that,
Because basically what, you have to follow that procedure until the new adoption has taken place, correct?
Correct.
I don't know if that we have to. There's a time and point when we try to get caught up to date on most every little thing, whether it's code, whether it's, enforcement, whatever it is, we're always trying to play catch up. Where we're so close on having something done, I don't know if we're gonna be asking more of him now than we've asked of all the other people by following the rule closer. I totally concur that there have been things that we have not probably done. If there's 10 items, we've probably done 8 of them, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And when it comes up for renewal, we'll have a new code here in the next few months, or new code.
That's what I'm like, positive out
There you go.
Well, we'll have a new
New
code.
out here by spring.
And so I just, I'm going back to what Jeff said, if we're asking more from him, even though we didn't ask all the other ones, where we're having a new code, and we do now in our new code, if passed, we'll be able to look at this again. It's kind of a gray area just because we're so close to getting that code done.
Mayor, so with the new code in place, once it's approved and moved forward, there would be a new procedure and to accommodate that, and would have to then be followed for any new or renewal business from that point on. So I think, yeah, you've answered your question. You gotta follow the procedure currently now, which you've been doing for the past how many years. And then when that changes, when he comes back for renewal of license, he'll follow the new procedure.
That would be the way that my mind would work and think just in this particular scenario. Any other comments from?
I'm not trying to give
Oh,
you
no,
grief at all.
no, I understand,
I'm doing the process for you.
Well, and we have literally been working on the process, I mean, this exact
Yeah,
issue.
Charleston's doing the same thing. I mean, I've been invited down there. I mean, my dad lives down there. I've been invited down there if I wanted to have my shop down there. And they're dealing with the same thing, whether to allow certain industries or business.
And that's not your issue though.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is gonna fit our code, and it probably fits the code now, but I'm not sure we're getting all that we asked for in the code. But this will pass with 3 votes, so let's just close the vote.
Chair will entertain a motion to accept Jeremy's business license.
Trying to screw over the trucking business.
Oh, that's right, sorry, but we didn't have a first, and we didn't have a second, that's how far behind I am.
Smart ass.
Any other discussion? Not, all in favor? Aye.
You got your 3. Nay.
Okay, we'll process that and then we'll get you a license, okay?
These damn ears.
Okay, we have, yep,
Now what?
3D Enterprises, also a new application.
Okay,
Stephanie Brady of Daniel, and I'm here to apply for a business license. Out of my home, I work remotely out of my home. Our office is out of Park City, and I do have an assistant that does some computer work at my house, and she's there from 9 to 5 every day.
Any questions?
I'm in the mining industry, and so I own a couple of foundries in the United States, and I deal with mines, Freeport, McMoran, Rio Tinto, it was sort of people, Barrick, Goldstrike, and I don't store anything out of my house, all I do is work on the computer.
in-house office.
But I do have an assistant that bugs Pam.
So,
But is she good?
She's good.
and she's,
So Pam won't complain. Okay.
she drives very
Those are all the checks and
conservative.
applications for those licenses. Includes Stephanie. Any questions?
I don't mind, I mean, I wouldn't.
Minimal impact here, clearly out of the home.
Once again, the same scenario, or same issue probably persists with all of these that we're gonna deal with regard to that. I think that is very minimal impact, and certainly work under any scenario that we get produced, so. You wanna make a motion on each one of these new ones?
No, hers is the only other new one, the rest are renewals.
Okay. So then, Chair will entertain a motion, at least on this new one, from the council to accept it, Grady Enterprises, Inc., as a business here for Daniel.
So moved.
You have a first,
Second?
you have a second. Any other discussion with regards to this? If none, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Not for your business,
Oh,
just
no,
the process.
I agree.
In just a couple of months,
I'm not taking it
she'll be part of the
personal.
problem.
But to me, this is a classic home occupation.
Under the first one, not the second one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Under the first
one
occupation.
person, yeah,
Right.
has someone come and help them out.
First
No
time.
storage, there's nothing going on outside.
Everything's contained within the home.
Yeah,
Right, so that would
this is-
fall under our old home
Yeah,
occupation, right?
yeah, very
Okay.
nicely, actually.
And Eric, on this, full scope, who's this?
That's our Heber Taylor,
Oh,
does the bags.
he's had that forever.
Mhm.
That was the bags.
Anybody have any
Does
questions
the bags,
with regards to
does
this?
the bags in his house and his house.
Oh,
So,
That's where he came from.
what's the name of it?
Heber Taylor, full scope.
Oh,
Next one would be Lone Peak Sprinklers.
Nate Orton.
Nate? Okay. questions with regards to this?
Have we had any complaints on any of these?
We have not had any
We
complaints.
have not had any complaints. Some may be coming though.
And he's really been proactive about that.
He has, he definitely does not want to have any complaints.
They've been really proactive.
And My Berry owned preschool.
Okay, that's the Webbs across from.
Okay. Any questions with that from council?
They're quite the little entrepreneur.
Over there.
Special times.
Hey, girl.
Everyone wants to live by me.
Anything else on business license, Mr.
Nope,
Bunker?
that's it for business license.
Okay, we have a continuation on item number 5 of traffic signs to be requested from Wasatch County. I kind of was rushing that a little bit, and I realized that we needed to let someone do his job first, so Ryan has
I'll try to rush that. So here's a nice letter with 2 maps. And if we want to save time, we can skip the letter and turn the map to turn to the second map, and we'll make this shorter.
Now, before you start, so is this a recommendation? Is this what would be most small communities would do something like this? Is there rhyme with this region, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we did, this is a quick summary of the first map. Never mind, the letter just talks about what we did and what my recommendation is. So if you're here to listen to it, skip the letter. But later, the letter's helpful for people afterwards, and me in a year when I have to remember what it was I recommended and why.
So before you start, is figure 1 the first half and figure 2 the second?
Yeah.
Okay.
So up in the corner, it says big 1 and big 2.
Okay.
Yes, and then I conveniently stapled the letter on top of it, so you can't see that.
If I'm missing some papers, if I'm
So we are on figure 1.
So for figure 1, so we'll start with the process and what we did. So, after the last meeting when we discussed, we wanted to form a recommendation on what signs needed to be repaired, modified, changed, etc. We decided that the first thing we had to do is go through and figure out what signs we have in the town and what signs are missing. And so we drove all the roads in town, we took pictures of all the signs, and created an updated inventory. If you'll recall, we did this 3 or 4 years ago. So we have that one now, and now we have this one. It's remarkable, a lot of signs stayed, a lot of signs didn't. And so the summary here is we found we call them generic town signs, you'll see them up by the water tank. That's the no trespassing sign, the town property, keep out. If you wanted to do something to our water system, this would be a good gate to break through. Those signs, we have dead end signs, I call them miscellaneous signs of town, signs that aren't really town signs. Speed limit, stop signs, stop ahead, the street signs, the street names. And then we've got a couple other things on the map. So this first map, basically a summary of everything that's there or should be. The second one is where we probably want to spend most of our time. And I know these pictures are very small. I tried to make them bigger, then you can't tell where they are.
Those pictures?
Each of those icons is a picture of the existing sign. And if you print it out big enough, you can see it. And so the second part of that was I went through the inventory of all the signs. So we printed up this map with all of the pictures of every sign in the town. And we looked for which ones are missing. So if you look on 3000 South, right before Southfield Road, you'll see a post with no sign on it. We have a lot of those. So we identified what those most likely should have been and produced this map, which is our recommendations map. And so I don't need to go through every sign unless somebody really wants me to.
Can you put a tractor on the sign? Some kid's bedroom?
That would be my guess for some of those. So the conclusion here is I broke it into 2 categories, both are on the same map. There's signs that are damaged, like at 189 and 3000 South, the sign's just bent, but it's still there. Can probably be repaired. There's other signs like the one I just pointed out with the post there, but no sign. And then I went through and reviewed AASHTO guidelines interestingly enough, all the AASHTO guidelines say engineering judgment. Just to make life easy. But they give you some guidelines and then they say it's really up to engineering judgment.
Okay.
And so using that judgment, I went ahead and recommended some additional signs. So I've got a couple additional stop signs and heads, and the biggest thing I suggest that we add is some speed limit signs. So,
What?
speed limit signs.
Someone?
So I hadn't looked at this, but it occurred to me that if you turn off at 3000 south and, or 189 and head down 3000 south, the first time we tell you what the speed limit is after you pass Big Hollow Road. So, now, I'm not saying that putting up a speed limit sign at the intersection is gonna suddenly make everyone follow the rules. But if I were writing a ticket, it would sure, I mean, if I was written a ticket, I would sure point out that I haven't driven past the speed limit sign since the one that said 70. And I was only going 40, so what's the problem? So it seems like if we went ahead and put speed limit signs at our boundaries, then at least that argument would go away. That when you drive into town, you know the speed limit's either 30 or 35, depending on which one you came in. There's a couple of intersections where I think the stop sign aheads are needed. They're not needed at all intersections with every stop sign. And so I knew there was gonna be a question.
And so by you saying needed, would that be, by whose discretion would that need to be?
So Ashton Edmonds from December 2007.
2007,
So, no, oh, actually, this is 2000, they did it again, 2007. Talks about how big a street sign should be, your letters, all this other good stuff. And then it talks about stop signs ahead. Oh, well, here, we'll come back to this in a second. I'm trying to get the stop sign placement, or stop sign ahead. Basically, it says stop sign aheads are needed where line of sight is restricted, or it's hard to see the stop sign in time. So high rates of speed, which we don't have on paper, but we might have. We shouldn't have, but we do. And then there are a number of signs. So for example, the one on 189 and 3000 south, the stop sign appears as you come around the corner. So a stop sign ahead before you go around the corner by your house, so that you can tell that as you turn the corner, you know, one ahead is a good idea. On 3000 south, I have them going down the road because we didn't have the speed limit sign to tell people to slow down. So it was a high-speed road, giving people a little heads up. And so I've recommended a few more street sign ahead signs. There's a few dead end signs that we're missing that need to be put back up. At the end of the day, there's 2 new dead end signs, 4 speed limit signs, 1 stop sign, and 4 stop sign aheads that I'm recommending we install or completely replace. Sorry, this is a table in my letter. I don't remember all those numbers. For a total of 11 new signs. And then to repair, we have a dead end sign that is up, but just barely. 4 speed limit signs that could use some help. 5 stop signs that are almost a stop, or parts of stop, and then 4 miscellaneous street signs that talk about the intersections. 600 East is one of them. That most of those are just the poles knocked over. For a total of 14 repairs.
street identification sign.
Street identification, yes. And some of those are deceiving because the street identification sign and the stop sign are on the same pole, fell over. So when they put the pole back up, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But for the purposes of inventory, I had to identify both of them as. And then 2 issues that are not on this map but were brought up by the public when we talked about the last couple of council meetings is the public had asked that we consider a 3-way stop at Big Hollow Road, 3000 south. And then also informational signs along Tankum and Ranch Drive to talk about the school. Which are good things to talk about. They're not on the map because they're not
there.
not exceptionally, I mean, it's not crystal clear. What was on the map was easy, is what AASHTO gives guidelines for. Is if you want people to follow the speed limit, you should put up a speed limit sign. If you want people to stop, you should put up a stop sign. Here's places to do it. So on Big Hollow Road, 3000 south, real quick, AASHTO talks about reasons to put up a speed limit, reasons to put up stop signs, and reasons not to. So, guidance. Number 1, stop signs should not be used for speed control. I didn't write this, but that was kind of fitting. Stop signs should be installed in a manner that minimizes the number of vehicle stops. And at intersections where full stops are absolutely necessary, code such and such should, you should look at yield signs if stop signs aren't completely necessary.
California style.
legal California stops.
It's a yield sign.
Okay.
And then it talks 3, says, you know, when stop signs are necessary, you should stop the obvious, you know, this is obvious, but you should put a stop sign first on the minor street and then on the major street, to stop the fewest number of cars. And then the stop sign should not be installed on the major street unless justified by a traffic engineering study. And then on the second page, it talks about or accidents. And so to my knowledge, in my opinion, Big Hollow Road really doesn't meet that criteria for a three-way intersection stop, because we haven't had a lot of intersection accidents that I'm aware of. I didn't check with the deputies, maybe we do, but that I'm aware of. And I think the major reason there was for speed control, which was explicitly listed in number 1.
So that had to do with stop sign speed control, but so today I was going, I don't know how many miles, it wasn't, it was a neighborhood street, but a main neighborhood street, and they had all the little asphalt bumps and they had it all for, so that would be one obviously that can be used.
Yeah, so there are other things to do for speed control. Stop signs aren't one of them. So by this argument, I would argue that the three-way stop at Big Hollow probably doesn't make sense. But if we go down the road to Southfield Road, which is a four-way stop, I'd argue the conditions there are very similar to the conditions at Big Hollow. Maybe slightly less traffic on the cross street on Southfield Road, but very similar, and we have one there. And you're gonna be hard pressed to get myself or any other engineer to recommend we take out a four-way stop and make it more dangerous, only to have an accident occur after I make that recommendation. So I'm not gonna make that recommendation, so we're not taking that one out. And so one justification is if we already put one in that didn't meet the code, do we go ahead and put in more?
Question, as far as speeding, now I believe it's illegal to be, for the local gendarmes to be taking pictures of those speeding vehicles and sending them out, tipping them out. But,
I believe the legislature is looking at that again.
but could we have something that takes pictures out and speeders get a picture in the way?
Shame speeders.
Shame.
So my understanding is that coming up in January, they're going to be re-looking at the photograph, radar traps and red lights in particular. So we might be able to get your ticket in the mail again.
That would slow stuff down.
So anyway, my recommendation based on the AASHTO guidance is that Big Hollow Road doesn't qualify. That's it, you're the council, and we can add 2 more stop signs if you'd like.
35's not bad, going through there, don't take that long to get through the whole town.
So we'd like to have a motion to follow Ryan's recommendations after our discussion.
Do we have a cost on this, Brian, to do all this?
No, the county, the cheapest way to do it by far is the county will help. We'll come send a guy out and do it and we'll order the signs.
175, $175 a sign or something like that.
I believe, I was gonna say, I would assume it's about $200 for the new signs by the time they get them up, if it's not too much work. And the repairs are gonna vary. Some of the repairs are as simple as standing the post back up and tapping it down a little bit. Some of them require a whole new post as a replacement. And so I don't have a good cost on it. If this was approved, my next step was gonna be to go meet with the county and talk to them about roughly what they think it would take.
So where is the new stop sign, Ryan, that you recommend?
Excellent question.
And I should know that.
This is why you don't do things way before the meeting, because then you forget what you did. I believe the news,
On the 6th,
I believe it's classified as a new stop sign because it's missing. It's not a stop sign in a new location.
Oh, there's one missing?
There's one that's missing, and I'm trying to remember where that was when we did it. We did this right after the last council meeting, and I managed to forget. I'm sorry. So sorry. As a new stop, I'm not recommending we put a stop where people aren't stopping. The news was because the sign was completely gone.
And so
But I don't
Green's
remember.
Hair is 5,
I'll tell you what, I had
Yes.
so 5 new stop signs?
Well, so repair, if you look, so the one down by your house, 189 and 3000 south, is bent. I think there's a fair chance you can bend that sign.
I think there's a fair chance the county will fix that.
Oh, actually, it's not. But anyway, that's a bad example, except it's a good example of a sign that I don't think we need to order a $175 sign. I think we just need to bend it back.
Well, it's $175 to buy this, not install.
No, that was definitely one of the charges, for fixing a stop sign, was the post, but I don't know, the post, but I think it's stuff, so. But it was only 175, that's my
We're not gonna beat the price of the county doing it, if they ordered it, but, I had used about $200 when we asked them to put in a new sign, and that maybe, you know, with the labor, if they're out and about doing it on their schedule. And that may be a little low. I guess I'm gonna have to get back to them, which stop sign's missing, I don't remember. It's in the notes, so I'll have to go back and find it. And it's probably fixed by now.
Well, and usually people don't call it.
Well, that's why.
Stop sign is on.
The stop sign ahead missing was stay missing, the stop sign was probably gone the day we did it, and yeah, it's probably already fixed.
Maybe, yeah, okay,
So,
all right.
So Ryan, do these locations that you have marked here indicate where the sign is actually going to go?
yes, that's
So-
the intent.
So if we look at Tianca, would it make sense to move the signs closer to the ends of that road?
The, speed limit sign? Yes, it could. I'd be open to that.
And I would think, what, 100 feet or within 100 feet, is there a standard or?
You want to be a few hundred feet in, because if somebody turns a corner, you want to wait till they straighten out or are paying attention again. So I would think more like 500, 300 to 500 feet in, but,
Maybe that's where that ends up, I don't know.
no, it isn't, those are in more than that. But I would be, well, I think that's a good way, I can do that. And then the last item is on those informational signs for the school. Well, I guess, do we want to do them, and if so, exactly what wording do we want to put on them? And I don't know that that's a council item, but those would be things I would need to know to direct the county.
Well, it seems like the sign's actually, the one down is working somewhat well, maybe at the end of 3,000
For 4 or 5 years.
I don't know, one on each end saying no school action, I don't know. If they're not attempting it now, that seems like kind of almost a waste.
So I guess like we could ask.
We're talking about
you guys
signs
have
now,
made
but you guys
the
know.
recommendations. I believe the suggestion was one on Tiancum and Daniel Road, and then another one on Ranch Drive and 3000 South.
Yeah.
Correct.
That would be.
So we're talking about 2 signs, and the wording would be something like no school access,
Yes.
no access to the school, or
The ones I've seen in the past are
No
school
bike
access.
riders, no nothing.
no, yeah.
No Louis and Stephanie's
Don't
lawn,
go.
nothing.
Let's have a nuclear sign at the next one.
Skull and crossbones.
Just kidding. No.
Well,
Okay, no school
I'll-
access.
I'll-
bikes, single file, sit around, we got 2
Use the
side
bike
by
path.
side, exit across them.
I think we need some of them at the end of town.
Yeah.
Please use the bike path.
Please.
What bike
Please
path?
use Beaver bike path.
So those 2 signs, I mean, that seems, that would take care of, I know there's some other ones that I mentioned earlier, but
That should take care.
So we're at $894 at $80 a sign for what he's recommending. At 80.
4 more signs. 4 more signs. No bike paths.
One other question, Ryan. Do we have a speed limit going west on 3000 after the 4-way stop?
No,
And we don't really have any on the east of, on 3000 of the 4-way stop, do we?
we do, we got one on Big Hollow Road headed east, right after Big Hollow Road.
Okay.
That's in good condition, so it's not got a picture with it.
what you say west?
So is that, are these little white dots speed signs, speed limit signs?
The little white squares are speed signs.
Oh, okay.
the
So
little
it looks like
white-
we're good on 3000.
The little white other shape is something else.
No road doesn't have one.
One on.
So it looks like there's two.
So the square,
That's
if you look
proposed.
down the legend, the
Back.
square white dot is a speed limit sign.
Where's them glasses? Let's borrow those glasses, please.
John, that's a proposed map you guys are looking at. They're not actually there.
Whoa.
Well, the existing signs are on the proposed map, Eric, they're just not labeled, but the dot is there.
This
Right,
is
so-
new.
You see, because there's a stop sign, speed limit sign, and it's there.
Right, that's new, yeah,
Right.
but I'm looking
So
at,
he's looking at these two white dots.
but I'm looking at that dot saying that's the first dot.
That's the first one of that whole line.
So this is one we're supposed yeah, so this is the first speed limit sign that's here right now.
But there's no speed limit.
Not one, there's one that needs to be installed. Sorry, I did this.
Very small.
No, there's not, well, there's one.
Missing stop sign ahead. So there is another, so there's another street, speed limit sign as you turn and head west,
Yes.
right where you're talking about, but then the street, stop sign ahead sign is missing.
Yeah, so what about down, so this road looks good.
So I'm proposing we put a speed limit sign as you turn in, but otherwise.
But glasses, you mean, yeah. Give everybody glasses, you give them signs, that's not
So
gonna
what I'm
help.
proposing is I put one basically at the entrance into the town. And so as you drive into town, you pass the speed limit sign that says 30 or 35. And so you have seen a speed limit sign to get into town.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can carry it away with putting
Yeah, you
it
can.
before and after every intersection. And it can
Soon
get-
you'll have one more goal bar.
And what a lot of places do is that, like Heber for residential neighborhoods, there's a sign that no one's ever read as you come into town. It says 25 miles an hour unless otherwise posted.
Probably
And
that's
so,
the state code too.
All the other signs, all those other roads, they don't need speed limit signs, it's 25 miles an hour unless posted otherwise. And state code speaks to that as well. Here, it's, what I was trying to do is remind the people doing 60, the speed limit's 35. So 40 is probably okay, 50, you're pushing your luck.
Great.
Pictures would be great.
And if we can get the speed traps, or the speed cameras going, I'm sure it'll get all of us first.
They can pin them on the big rifle.
Shoot your cameras.
What was that?
I said, I've got a big rifle to shoot your cameras, I hate that son of a bitch.
Well, that's it. We'll make watch what'll happen. We'll make a plea to get them installed, and then it'll be all of us that get the first round
I
in.
don't mix words about it.
Goes into the school.
Looks like 3 roundabouts will take care of it.
Good.
Yeah.
There you go.
My brother's down there, he's a truck
I see another CDBG grant.
Yeah.
So,
Traffic?
Yeah.
3 roundabouts.
yeah. What stop sign was missing? We're proposing one new stop sign. Where was it missing?
No, it was one that was bent.
Okay.
That
Oh,
needed to be repaired.
so that's the one down here that was bent? You said you needed a new one?
We have
There you go.
We have a roundabout.
Kim said you can't bend that one back.
Well, no, that one was really warped, and I thought it could be used to be reinforced for something, because there's a lot of high winds there.
There you go.
All the rest were just like little parts that were bent that could be repaired. This one, I'm like, probably really important.
There isn't one on, there is one on King.
Yeah, roundabout, takes all the.
I don't think it's just the road yet.
Oh, I've never noticed.
Do I want it? Do you want it? Do you want it?
I have it.
Is that one?
I just figured as soon as I
Do
said,
you want me to have it?
when I just knew, when I said the code says this, that you were gonna say, what code? And I was, so, I remember, I don't know, 17, but there's a copy
Oh,
for
I
you.
used to have them fix it.
Very good. Good job, right?
Some of us old people like the bigger text.
Yes, very good. You can put these down.
Oh, I think it's funny, you don't have it.
No, it's just one of those things that's been
Any
like
other
that
discussion on the
for
signs?
years.
Scott, Joe, take your, entertain a motion. Do a motion to approve the signs, that, was planned out by GDA?
Ryan, yes, proposed.
Are we approving him to talk to the county, or are we approving him to come up?
Approving him to talk to the county. Meaning, you wanna find out what they are before we give
Yeah,
the
so just to
okay?
clarify on the motion, do I tell the county to put them up, or do I tell the county I need a cost estimate for how much, and then come back to you and get approval?
In my opinion, what do you need? Not put a sign up for $175 or $200?
Well, we don't know if it's a
I'd let them put the sign up if they
Till it
charge
talks
us
to
too much
them.
for
That's what I'm
water.
open-ended.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve Ryan's
Good idea.
plan
I
with a
think Kim would
reasonable
do
amount.
And you're reasonable and all reasonable,
What goes
say
around
reasonable.
So we may have some offline conversations to make sure our reasonables are all the
Do we
same.
want to put a number on that? Do we want to say?
Leave it up to you.
I talk with Chip and Eric on a regular basis. I think I can get the number and we can, the three of us can make sure that at least all of us think it's reasonable.
And we have done multiple signs over the years, per se, I can't imagine it being more per individual signs than we've already experienced myself.
I'll second the motion.
11.
So we have a motion, we have a second to the motion. Any last discussion on road signs? None, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, this your seat.
All right. We're gonna have some new street signs,
He's
folks.
not reasonable. Don't talk to him.
Thank you.
We'll all thank Ryan for it. Item number 6 is a resolution, DR 217-11-06, adopting interlocal agreement with Wasatch County for snowplow services and signage for winter season 2017 and 2018. If you'd like, I would read the whole thing, but it hasn't changed for the last 4 years, so I can just read the resolution. What would the council like to hear?
Just the resolution. Fine with me.
When you talk signage and snow removal?
Just the title, the purpose. That's it.
Eric, another, is this signage and snow removal on this, or is this mostly snow removal with other services?
So it does.
Yes, we do.
Well, they're on the hook then. Motion to approve.
Okay, we'll start out,
We do that.
Yeah,
I'll read the
if we have no
resolution.
snow removal, we don't need speed limits.
Just a short title.
It doesn't say they do it for free, it just says what they will charge you.
No, the comment was that if we don't plow the roads, we don't need to worry about the speed limit signs, because they
So
won't be
we
doing
have to
it.
drive slow,
well,
and it's okay.
There you go.
Just a thought.
number DR 217-11-06, effective date November 6, 2017. Short title, resolution authorizing interlocal agreement with Wasatch County for snow removal and sign replacement and repair. Purpose, snow removal services to be provided to the town of Daniel by Wasatch County for the winter season 2017 and 18, and sign repair and or replacement as needed within Daniel. Resolution, whereas Chapter 13 of Title 11 of the Utah Code permits local government units to cooperate with each other for mutual advantages and thereby to provide services in a manner that will accord best with a geographic, economic, population and other factors, including the needs and developments of local communities for the overall promotion of the general welfare of the state. And whereas the town desires that the county provides snow removal services for the public roads located within the municipal boundaries of the town of Daniel and repair or replacement of road signage therein. And whereas the county is able and willing to provide snow plowing services on a season-by-season basis, and whereas the town and county desire to establish the terms of their cooperation to provide the aforementioned services, the Daniel Town Council does hereby resolve and approve that an interlocal agreement be entered into between Wasatch County and Town of Daniel for the snow removal services for the winter season of 2017 and 2018, and sign, repair, or replace as necessary, and authorize the mayor to negotiate, sign, and enter into such an agreement. Once signed, such agreements will be attached to this resolution as a permanent record. Chair will entertain a motion for the resolution.
To approve.
To approve, you got a second?
Second.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Just one comment on signage before we move on to the next thing. I've contacted Heber Light and Power again and do not get return calls on the light post.
Well-
You have to do that.
What's that?
I told you you have to do that a few times.
Yeah, and I have, and
Well, and he did, and I actually have too, and then that guy came from, I said, well, when you do that intersection hub, we'll be getting all that done. Well, that was like 2 months ago, I don't know.
I didn't hear that or miss that.
Okay, so Heber Light did come, and they're I'm not sure when, but there's gonna be a power connection that comes up from Provo Canyon, and they're doing something at that intersection, and he said they would address the light at that particular point, because they're gonna be moving earth, which could be still a while, but not a long while, but.
So you want me to still bug them, or the whole better?
Well, I'm not sure, do you remember they called that interchange there when he spoke about the light? Once they were gonna connect a power interchange when Heber Light came in, and I asked about the light down there, and he said when we did that work, we would do the light.
Yeah, they were gonna change out that pole, I believe.
Mill Road and.
Well, it wasn't there power, I mean, a power coming from Canyon, more than just a pole, I think. I thought it was a whole,
I don't know.
but yeah, I'd keep looking there as well.
Okay.
I don't know, Blayman really liked it, about 4 other people really like it.
Okay.
189 and north down for 3,000.
Okay, resolution passed on item number 6.
It's nice to have that one on.
Continued discussion of attorney use for filing mechanics liens and collection matters. This is continued from last meeting. My understanding at this point, and it was from council, that we need to incorporate for every hookup that verbiage needs to be in, that could be a possibility in the verbiage. And maybe it is or isn't, I didn't know if it was or wasn't, but he said the first thing we need to do is have that language for all new hookups. We still can do liens, but he was gonna, there was a little bit of, he didn't know exactly the best and easiest way, so it's less managed to be renewing it. I mean, it's just done and said, so the title companies do pick it up, but I didn't get a clear answer as much as we want to put that in our, certainly in our paperwork for application, as well as maybe in the code. That's what I was advised on liens. We still can do them, just makes it, I think, a lot easier to have it in our process.
So how do we go about putting it into the process?
Well, we have to look at the application, see the verbiage of the water application first of all.
Put it on the application.
That was his first comment, and then, you know, he said, you know, you could put it into code afterward, but more importantly, the application is where he got all the stuff.
Is it a sign, no
I think it's assigned. And so they know that.
Which is,
contract?
well, it's halfway there.
Halfway there.
Halfway there,
Halfway there.
halfway,
Jeff, so-
contract.
Do you want to read or?
Oh, no, this is just something Lynn gave me. I was just noticing Independences up here on top.
Are we still around?
Yeah.
So, Kim, I know that was kind of a concern of yours, and so at this point, we can, you know, I think you said there's one at least, if not two maybe, that we need to do that too. And so I did not go and ask him if he could or would. I asked him kind of what the processes might be that we should do that, and that's kind of what he explained. If we have an individual, then we can just present that one and get it done.
Okay, these people who refuse to sign your agreement, they won't sign it, or they're out, they've moved. So, what I'd like to know is who do you want to go file the lien?
Okay, I'll find that out specifically then. Who, you know, whether we, you, me, whoever, do we go here in town, do we go to the county courthouse, does he do it on behalf of us? I'll
You
find
can
that
get a
out.
lien form off the internet, and if you fill it out and complete every item,
They signed it.
don't leave anything blank, you go get it recorded, most likely it should stand. But I would like to be able to get somebody within this valley, whether it's paralegal and attorney.
Need another one?
And you just say, okay, we've got a property over here, here's the address, built the courthouse, put a lien on it. Now, I talked with the private water company up in Storm Haven before we took it over, Miss Goodfellow, and she's had to lien properties up there to collect money. She doesn't, I don't know if she had a contract with them or not, but she filed the lien herself, and she said she collected the money eventually. Now I've got more stories about her.
Well, I'm gonna find out the simplest and easiest way for us to handle it, whether it's just a phone call to somebody, 'cause
I think if you could find an attorney that would please paralegal on this, that would be the perfect situation. Because and you can get those fees collected when the lien gets released. You have to release the lien too, by the way.
Yes.
So, there you go again, another reason to have a paralegal on, and then they can get their attorney.
And I only ask half that question, I'll find out the mechanics of it. Physically, who, where, why, how much.
But to me, it's encouraging that if we have people that haven't signed contracts, they've been using water for 25 years, and they decide they don't want to pay the water bill, we put a lien on the place. Now,
Yeah,
that's
he-
encouraging to me.
And he did not say we couldn't, yeah.
Oh,
He just-
okay, fine.
No, he just said it just works best if we already have it kind of in the motion, in there, so that's just a little better way of, probably clears the water just a little bit.
Well, and I think we wanna pull this out when nothing else works. When our April and October doesn't work, something gets big, and, I mean, cause attorney fees are high.
Yeah.
And we're talking 3 months of water just to file the lien probably. So, at what point do you cut the loss of, you know, so I don't, that's what I mean, but that would give us a better idea of what it's gonna cost us to do that.
So do we have to have an attorney file a lien, or can we have a?
No, we could file it individually if we wanted to.
So,
I'm gonna find those out and how
Okay.
simple, and if there's, if you put a different word than I put, would that be an issue if the guy took it to court?
okay, yeah.
I'll just find
Because I think a lot of these we handle with our October and April
Yeah.
deadline, they shouldn't be more than 6 months behind. And if we keep up on that, I don't think we run into a situation where it'll justify getting an attorney on it. But we do have a few out there that,
You know, it's people who have had their homes repossessed and left town, and then you got somebody in New York that takes a household, and it's set for a year. And that is, that goes to the situation where you get most of the trouble, and then nobody, there's no record of us showing up that those previous folks own money, so when they close on the title and the new customer comes in, you go over to him and you say, I'm not gonna turn your water on. He says, why? He says, well, the person that was here 2 years ago never paid his water bill, and you're gonna pay it, or I'm not turning your water on. It's illegal.
it is illegal.
Yeah.
However, we can charge them a fee to turn their water.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, especially it hasn't been used for so long.
Back to your word thing.
It's been out of use for so long, there's a minimal fee.
Well, in some instances, it may not be available.
Yes.
May not be
Oh,
available.
yeah.
We have Storm Haven that has a
Moratorium.
moratorium on it, it may not be available.
Yeah.
I'll get you
It's
clarity.
a bigger problem.
I think we're gonna discuss a letter that talks about that, where water's not available, that one individual. I hope. I hope.
So we just finished, continued discussion on mechanics lien, so I've got a little bit of work to do on that one.
You need a motion to continue?
I do need a motion to continue on that. Yep.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Items continued to next month, item number 7. 8, Daniel Municipal Water Issues and Necessary Clarification on Connection Fees. I'm not sure what.
I think Kim has a question.
Or clarification, one of the two.
Just asked to be prepared, I just figured I'd come up to continue.
Ryan, please.
Oh, I didn't think on. So I guess the question, I was hoping, anyway. But my understanding, the question was, when we do things like, so the town recently dug up the road and added a new water meter for new connection. The customers paid the impact fee, the $10,000, $760, whatever, $767. But the question was, now that the town incurred a cost of $2,500 by the time it's done? Is that
hook up?
about right?
Oh, heavens, no.
Is it?
No, those costs are between 5,000 and 7,000.
No, for our cost to install install the meter.
To tap.
To
the
tap
drainage
the main.
pipe, to put the 1-inch line in to the setter and the box, and then start a 3/4 line from the meter, from the setter out.
Yeah, with that one in the road, was that 5,000 by the time we were done?
Pretty much.
I know we had a whole
That was
array
it,
of costs.
And that was an easy one, and it was only halfway through the street. That's the problem we have going on, is everybody's operating off old numbers. Even Mr. Walton, the water manager, was thinking you could get all this done between 2,500 and 3,500. It doesn't exist, you can't do it.
So what was our bill on that one in particular?
The road patch hasn't been finished yet, but I'm assuming it will be probably close to $6,000. And it was an easy one.
Right.
The 25 was the floated number in the beginning and then the,
Well, I think you used to get hookups done for that. Eric used to hook up for the town. What did you charge the town? 2 taps?
They hired me by the hour with the backhoe. I never charged the town to hook up. The water company did that themselves.
Okay,
I was just the excavator.
all right, you're off the hook.
So regardless.
Not bad, huh?
I think Gary and I had a conversation is where I had that number in my head recently, but regardless of the cost,
It's 5, no, it's
the,
10.
the rate fee we have and the discussion, the impact fee, what the impact fee includes and does not include is pretty clear. And then there's a connection fee, and the reason I guess this is great is the past few people that have connected have been installing water lines or otherwise installing, had plumbers on site, and they did the work themselves and paid the bill. And we supervised it and inspected it, but they did the work. This is the first one where they didn't do that, and they said, we need the water meter installed, and it was became the town's responsibility to find a contractor. But the answer is clear, it needs to be passed on to them. And they still don't have their CO, and they have a couple other things they need to do, so I think the potential to collect that is still there, whether it's 25,000 or 6,000, the cost was discussed, but there's still a fee for the work.
In October of 2014, this was what we all put together through Epic Engineering. The impact fee was $10,767. The buy-in was $3,813. Then the future impact fee was $6,954, totaling that $10,767.
Right.
And a 1-inch hookup was gonna cost $17,945. Here's some of the history, and then there's a solution to this. The history has been that it's $5,000 to hook up to the system, and plus you pay, the customer pays the cost to hook in the line, the meter, the box, and everything else. Well, at that time, it was between $2,500 and $3,500. Okay, now, using those numbers, we're just under $9,000 and you could have a hookup. Now, if I'm not mistaken, from this hookup we just did, Ryan, we told those folks, the customer, that it would be $10,767 and one annual water share.
So we didn't get the plus cost in there.
I don't think we did, but I don't know, I wasn't involved in this, that's,
I can go back to my emails with her, I believe we did. I believe we talked, because we still have the share, and I told her before CO, we have some other issues to take care of, which I believe include the connection fee and the share.
oh,
I know I've had the conversation about the share.
okay.
I'll go back to my notes, but I believe I've had the conversation about both.
And then just to clarify, so that the council's aware of this, if in fact that is the policy now, we end up saying that it's gonna be $10,767 to hook into the system. Then we say, and I'm gonna use an average here, because it could be between $5,000 and $7,000 to do the excavation and et cetera, et cetera. So let's just say 5,000, let's add that in. And then we're gonna say we want a share of Daniel Water. Well, right now, that share, I believe, I mean, this could be all over the place, but the best I can tell is around $3,000. So you're gonna come to town, and you're gonna pay $19,000 to hook into the system. Okay, I just wanna make that clear.
Or 35, 40,000 for a well,
55,
55,000 for a well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because it wasn't long ago, it was $5,000 plus $3,000.
Yeah.
You're done.
Used to be 3,000.
No, they did take the share too. They turned that back before the town got the water. They turned the shares back
How
over.
many shares did the town have today?
I'm aware of at least 4 that they had prior to the town taking over that got returned, that I'm aware of. There was more than that.
have we got a share from, the hookup we just did, Blair?
No, we haven't, but there's an email, I have conversations and emails that we need to get that. Dave, the attorney, was working on a form that, to have them sign that over, and I need to get with him to get that form. So no, I haven't got the share from her, but she's aware that that's gonna be required before we'll give her the CO.
Okay. You know, the thing is I'm not here trying to push, the customer, you know, out of business, or I'm not trying to, do any of that, because really, we're working for the people in this town. That's what our job is, that's what we do. And whether we're in planning or zoning, whether we're on the water department, whether we sit up there. All I want to do is make sure that everybody understands that that's a lot of money, and that, to me, it's a real bargain. I'm like John when he says, or, you know, pay for a well or whatever, but if you went through and looked at the improvements that went on in the town of Daniel and then divided that between 153 users at that time, that is about $35,000 for them. But yet, we're still just paying $35. But remember, we're all paying for this bond every year for $39,000. We do it for how many years?
26 more years or something?
Yeah, it was 30 years.
Yeah, it's quite a while. So we're really, we're lucky that we got in on the program when we did, but it's still, that cost is still there. So when somebody comes to get on the line and they say, we're gonna pay $19,000, why, that's ridiculous. But we can say, hey, you know,
Go to the well.
the old customers in town have got this bond, and if we wouldn't have had that, they would have had to pay $35,000 to hook up.
They wouldn't have hooked up. We was out of water on the old system.
Yeah.
There was no hookups available. Until we started doing the data, there was no water available for them to hook on.
Oh, so when we replaced the water lines,
That's what I mean.
the data we had said there was no
There
water.
was no water.
And
So it was the same thing we got from Storm Haven, there was just no water. But as soon as we started, it was like, oh, there is something.
But I think that it's really tough to say that that's, even at 19,000, that's not a bargain. So I'm just putting this all out and trying to make it as clear as possible.
Have you seen, has that been an issue in the last couple of years? That about any people come to you and been an issue as much as more of a possible issue?
I've had one customer that's on a well that's came to me and said, how much to hook up? And at the time I said it was $10,767 plus the irrigation fee, and I didn't mention to him, plus the $5,000 to $7,000 to hook up, depending whether it was an easy hookup or a hard one. And he said, oh, I think I'm just gonna buy a new well pump. Okay. Then I had another one that said, how much to hook up the system? And I says, around $19,000. She says, that's not bad.
Yeah, what do they charge down in
Fair enough.
Provo or Salt Lake?
Those are the two extremes.
It varies. I don't know how to answer that. It varies. Some of them can hook up very, very cheap for a few $1,000s. Some of them it's $20,000, $30,000 and up. It's the cost of the system, which is why everybody did this plan and came up with, you know, that's why it's not $11,000, it's $10,767, because we calculated exactly how to get there.
So this does not sound unreasonable then.
It's based upon between 2015 to 2050, there'll be 319 hookups. 2050.
I think the better thing is to communicate. I think we can clear up our communication. I don't know that we've done anything wrong. I'm sure if we look back, we'll find one or two that we've messed up, but I think, like Kim put it together, that this 10,767 is to replace the $5,000. The other two components stay in place. It's gotten blurry, if you will, when the guy that was building was a plumber and said, I'm licensed, bonded, and insured, can I hook on if you inspect it? Well, okay, I mean, we can get a bid from, as long as you meet all the criteria, we can get a bid from you. And the town never took the money in and never gave the money out, and so we didn't know what the value was, but the customer paid for it. And so I think that may have caused confusion, but I think it might help to have a form that clarifies that a little better. In the future, we can have the customer find a plumber that can do it. and maybe we can get a list of